Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today's video is going to be my TBR for the month of May. So I am actually getting married in May, which is very exciting, but that means that I probably won't get to do a ton of reading. So this is a very ambitious TBR and it may or may not fall through, but every year, Eric at Break Even Books and a few other people host this readathon called the May the Force Read With You Readathon. It's Star Wars themed because on May 4th, people say, May the 4th be with you, haha. But I've participated the last 2 years and I've had a really good time doing it. So I wanted to participate again this year. They've actually added a really fun, character creation aspect to that, kind of like the magical readathon that I'm doing right now in April, which is very fun. So I did want to participate in that. I've set a tentative TBR, which I'm going to be going over for you here in just a second. And I'm hopefully going to get through at least some of these books. I have a few books that I absolutely have to read this month. Without further ado, I'm just going to go through the prompts. As always, if you want an overview of this entire readathon, I will link Eric's video down below sharing all the prompts. He also has like a web page that has the prompts listed on them. And he's made a couple of cool graphics, or I think his partner actually made the graphics, but they're very cool. You should definitely check it out. It, again, will be linked down below, and I'm just gonna hop into the prompts that I'm going to follow for this readathon. So the first part of this readathon is to create a character and a character name. I just went on a Star Wars character name generator, and I chose the name Saren Dufu, which I think is very funny. It was just one of the names that was listed when I clicked generate random names, and it's what I picked. I'm not a very good person at coming up with names for things. I like to randomize stuff. It's just me. You can do whatever you want. I've decided that my species is going to be a Twi'lek. I don't honestly know what that is. I've mentioned this before. I'm not the biggest Star Wars girly. I've seen all the movies. That's not true. I've seen the original trilogy. I've seen the prequels, and I've seen one or two of the ones with Kylo Ren and Rey. And again, it just doesn't stick in my brain. I've mentioned this before, people hate it, but it's a fact about me. So I'm just doing this to have fun. Sorry if that offends you. The prompt for Twilight is to read either a romance or a book in a duology. And for this, I'm planning on reading Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, which is a romance. I was actually gonna read the one that just came out, but my library doesn't have any copies available and the waitlist is 30 weeks long. So probably not gonna get to that one anytime soon. But this is a rom-com type book, and it's, I think, part of either a duology or a trilogy. She likes to write standalone romances, but this one follows Alexis Montgomery and Daniel. So here's what it says. It says, after a wild bet, gourmet grilled cheese sandwich, and cuddle with a baby goat, Alexis Montgomery has had her world turned upside down. The cause, Daniel Grant, a ridiculously hot carpenter who's 10 years younger than her and as casual as they come, the complete opposite of sophisticated city girl Alexis, and yet their chemistry is undeniable. I think it's a small town romance. It doesn't say in here how she meets Daniel or why they are thrown together. But they've been dating, I think, in Daniel's hometown in a small town, and she's trying to bring him to the city. She has wealthy parents. Sounds like there's going to be some dilemmas with that. I don't know exactly how this is going to go. My record with Abby Jimenez is I've really liked some of her books, and then I've really not liked others of her books. So we'll see how this one goes for me, but I am pretty excited about it. So that's the book that I'm reading for my species prompt. You have ability prompts. So I'm gonna be in the Jedi order because I liked the light side and the good side prompts better than the dark side prompts. That's the reason I did that. But the way it works is he has prompts for the light side, prompts that are neutral, and prompts for the dark side. And for the neutral prompts, you can use it no matter which side you choose. So I believe Leslie at Nerdy Narrative is going to be on the dark side. So I will link her TBR video. She posted it a few days ago when I'm posting this, but I watched it today. That's what made me actually remember that this readathon was coming up and make my TBR for it. So thanks, Leslie. She'll mention the dark side prompts. And again, Eric's video talks about all of this. So since I'm doing the light side prompts, I'm going to do a book under 275 pages. And for that, I'm reading The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka, which I believe is under 200 pages, which is great for me because I've been in a reading slump for God knows how long. And reading long books is really difficult for me at this point. The premise, I think, is that there are swimmers who always go to this pool, and they only know each other by one is in the fast lane and one is in the slow lane at this pool. And it says one of those swimmers is Alice, who is slowly losing her memory. For Alice, the pool was a final stand against the darkness of her encroaching dementia. Without the fellowship of other swimmers and the routine of her daily laps, she is plunged into dislocation and chaos, swept into memories of her childhood and the Japanese internment camp in which she spent the war. And it's narrated by Alice's daughter, who witnesses her stark contrast and devastating decline. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty emotionally hard-hitting. Again, it's fairly short, and I'm really excited to read this one. The other prompt from the light side that I'm going to be doing is to read a borrowed book from the library. And for this, I'm going to borrow One Italian Summer by Rebecca Surley from the library. And this, I think, is another like rom-com. And it's about Katie, whose mother dies, and she's like going through the grief of that. And then she ends up going to the Amalfi Coast, and she feels her mother's spirit there. And so I think it's a lot about like dealing with grief of the loss of a parent. And also there's a budding romance with a man that she meets in Italy. Good Lord. So I've heard like a lot of people read this book. I haven't heard that much about it. So I feel like it's probably kind of a middle of the line, like chick litty romance, literary fiction book, or general fiction, maybe not literary fiction, but general fiction. And it seems like it'll be a nice, easy read. I am going on my honeymoon in May as well. We're going to Spain, not Italy, but I think it could be a nice book to read while I'm on my honeymoon. I'm doing a lot of the neutral prompts because they seemed the most versatile for what I'm wanting to read right now. So one prompt that I'm doing is I'm not reading for 60 hours. Again, I'm going on my honeymoon and I'm getting married in May. So I feel like this is a really easy way for me to get points for this readathon without really doing anything, with literally doing nothing. That's like the prompt. So I am pretty happy that that's on here. I think it might be kind of difficult because I do tend to listen to like audiobooks while I'm getting ready, or that's the big one, is that I listen to audiobooks a lot of the time when I'm doing mundane tasks. But I'm driving down on Wednesday, so I'll listen to an audiobook when I'm driving. Then I won't read Thursday, I won't read Friday, and I won't read Saturday. And then Sunday my wedding's over, and that's 72 hours of not reading. And I think that's gonna be good. That's an easy way to make points, and I'm pretty excited to be completing that prompt as well. Another neutral prompt is buddy read, which is perfect because for months I've been planning a buddy read with Amy from A-Star Reads. We're going to be reading The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. I have Matt's copy from school here that is very marked up from being a school copy where you like write your name on the spine and stuff, and it's everywhere. So this is a historical fiction, even at the time that it was written, I believe, and it won the Nobel Prize in Literature. I've read John Steinbeck before. I read East of Eden and really enjoyed it. I also read Of Mice and Men in high school, and I remember liking it, but I don't really have that strong of a memory on it. That's a book that I would like to reread at some point. But this, I believe, follows one family primarily from Oklahoma who during the Dust Bowl decides to leave Oklahoma and go to California. And so it's about their journey and also their like process adapting to a new environment. I'm very excited to read this. We've split it up to where it will take all month for us to read this together, and I, again, am really excited to get reading. So yeah, and I will have Amy's channel linked down below. She has a channel as well. And then the last ability prompt that I'm doing is to reread a book. And for this, I'm rereading The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which was my favorite book last year, and I want to reread it. I really liked it. I feel like I'm kind of slumping, like I said, and I do want to reread this book. I've been trying to get my partner to read it, and he made it about this far before deciding that it just wouldn't hold his attention. So either it's not for him, or he's a hard time getting his attention held in reading books anyways. He's not a big reader. He used to be, but not as much anymore. So I thought if I read this, then it'll refresh my memory of it, and I'm excited to read this. This is about Nora, there's a lot of trigger warnings associated with this book. I think a lot of people had a problem with the fact that people really highly recommended this book and didn't give appropriate trigger warnings for people. So some people read this having no idea what they were getting into and not realizing how triggering it could be for them. So definitely look into those trigger warnings yourself. But at the beginning of the book, Nora tries to end her own life, and she wakes up in a library. And in the library, there are books filled with different versions of her life if she had made different choices. And then she gets to go into the different books to see what her life could have been like. And it's a journey about learning to love your life, I guess. I really liked this book. I thought it was very emotionally impactful for me. And also, I like the idea of exploring different avenues of different choices that you could make. I think there's a line in this book that's something like, we can't choose how things turn out. We can only choose the choices we make, or something like that. And hopefully reading this again will refresh my memory of that quote, because I remember just really enjoying it. I really liked that book. So those are the books that I'm reading for the ability prompts. Then there are weapons, and the weapon options are lightsaber, blaster, and spaceship. And then there are also partner prompts that I will go through in a second. So for the weapons prompt, I'm going to be using a spaceship. And I'm going to be reading, the prompt for that is to read a book with a vehicle on the cover. I'm going to be reading The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. I don't know. I've heard of a lot of books by this author. I know I have one of them on my Kindle, but I'm not sure which one. It might be this one. It might not be, but that's okay. And this is a historical fiction about 18-year-old Emmett Watson, who is driven home to Nebraska by the warden of the work farm where he has just served a year for involuntary manslaughter. And the story is told spanning just 10 days from multiple points of view. It's supposed to satisfy fans of the author's multi-layered literary styling while providing an array of new and richly imagined settings, characters, and themes. So I don't know too much about this. It's a journey home story. I also think it's going to be an interesting look into indentured servitude, kind of, because that sounds like what his punishment was. And it's set in June 1954. So I have mentioned before that I'm not really a historical fiction girly, but I primarily just find World War II historical fiction a little bit overdone. This is not World War II, it's 1954. So again, I'm excited to read it and sort of explore my tastes in it and see how I feel about it. So I will let you know how that goes as well. And there's a train on the cover, that's the vehicle on the cover. So for partners, there are 4 spots on the sheet that the like printout that they made. So you do each of your sides partner prompts and then the 2 neutral ones, I assume, because you can't do the dark side ones if you're on the light side, which I am. So I've picked 4 books. I don't know that I will be getting to all 4 of these. I'm going to try to read one of them. And the one that I'm really wanting to read is Lessons in Chemistry because it is the book club pick. I actually own that. Hold on one second. I need to do a book haul, but Lessons in Chemistry is the book club pick. There is a book club near me at a like wine bar / bookstore, and they have a book club and they're reading this for their June book, I think. So I'm going to read it in May and hopefully be able to attend the June meeting. It'll be my first one. I'm very excited. I'm trying to make like adult friends through hobbies, which is kind of difficult. I don't know. Other people might feel this too, but we moved somewhere new where I don't know very many people. So I have coworkers that we have the same job, so we have that in common, but like common interests is sort of what I'm looking for in adult friends. But this is, I think, a romance set in the 60s. My receipts are in here. And it says, chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality, except for one, Calvin Evans, the lonely, brilliant Nobel Prize-nominated grudge holder who falls in love with, of all things, her mind. True chemistry results. So it's, again, a rom-com set in the 60s about a woman who is the only female researcher at this lab. I'm interested to see how this goes. I've heard really good things about it. People really like it. I think it was a book of the month pick. I just got it at half price, or at Barnes & Noble. So I will have a book haul coming up shortly. It's one of the videos I'm going to pre-film while I'm away, or to go up while I'm away. So keep an eye out for that. But that's a little sneak peek for you. But that's the one book that I'm like committing to read from this pile. And honestly, I might not even get to it in May. It might be in June because, again, I've got a lot going on in May. So the other books that I have on this list of possibilities is a book with multi-POV is one of the prompts for the light side. And for that, I'm going to read The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. This is something that I really think I could enjoy. So it's set in 2010, but also one of the reviews that I like briefly skimmed, because to be honest, the synopsis doesn't really tell you a lot about what the book is about. It just tells you like it doesn't tell you a lot about the plot. It tells you more about like the process of the book, if that makes sense. I hope it does. But one of the reviews said that like each chapter is told from a different person's point of view with different characters, and it's like an interlocking narrative. And I've read 2 books like that so far. One was called Love and Other Thought Experiments by Sophie Ward, which I really, really loved. And it was the same kind of concept where each chapter was told from a different perspective, following different events, but they all ended up linking together. The other was How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, which this one was really, really popular, and it was a sci-fi book, like about a dystopian future, and there was a virus basically that happened, and it was all of these different reactions to it that ended up intertwining. I love stories like that, and I know they're kind of hit or miss for people, so I think Candy House sounds like it's going to be another one kind of like that, because it's described as spellbinding linked narratives. However, this is the second book in a series, which I did not realize when I put this on my TBR, or I would not have put it on there. It's the Goon Squad series. The first one came out in 2010, and then there was like a 1.5 that came out in 2012. So this book came out last year. I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. If you've read this, let me know. I am going to do some research, and if I need to read them in order to get it, I probably will do that and then not read this month, but I kind of don't want to do that. I kind of just want to read this one. So I'm going to do some research, and obviously you'll find out at the end of the month if I, read them in order or just read this one. That's the plan for that. The other two that I have for the neutral prompts, one is a book that recently caught your attention. For this, I'm planning on reading Notes on an Execution by Danya Kafka. I don't know anything about what this is about. I've seen a couple of people read it. I think Jan Agaton is who I saw read it originally, and I've seen it on my Goodreads page from people I follow. So I am excited to read this one. It's got a pretty cover. It also reminds me, I think because of the last name of the author, I don't know, like the title of it, it sounds like a classic, but I can't remember what classic. Is Notes on an Execution a classic? Something like that. I don't really know, but if you know what I'm thinking of, let me know. But I'm gonna read that book. And then the other one I have my eye on that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to read because I think the list, again, at my library is pretty long. It's When I'm Gone, Look for Me in the East by Quan Berry. And this one is by the author of We Write Upon Sticks, which I think Kayla from Books and Lala recommends really, or speaks really highly of and recommends to people, but I've never read it. But it says, tasked with finding the reincarnation of a great lama, a spiritual, or great ayama? It's llama, but one L. I don't know. Or it might be a capital I. I can't tell. A spiritual teacher who may have been born anywhere in the vast Mongolian landscape, the young monk Chulun sets out with his identical twin Moon, who has rejected monastic life they once shared. Their relationship will be tested on this journey through their homeland as each possesses the ability to hear the other's thoughts. So again, a sibling story, which I really enjoy. I, again, don't know very much about this one either, but I do really want to read it. It got published last February and it sounds really, really good. I don't know, it just sounds interesting to me. And I am not moving away from genre fiction so much, but like I've been more interested in reading more like literary fiction and general fiction books, as you can probably tell based on these TBRs that I've been doing. So that's my plan for that readathon. Now, I wanted to talk about one other book that I am planning on reading this month because I want to do a book versus TV show since they're making a TV show about it. And I think Jennifer Garner's in the show and I love her. And so the book is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. And the final episode of the show comes out on Apple TV on May 19th, which is right after I get back from my honeymoon. So my plan is to try to read this book on the plane, which may or may not happen because I'm probably going to try to sleep on the plane as well. I feel like I'm going to be really jet lagged when I get back, but I'm going to try to read that book on the plane or listen to it. I have the audiobook and the ebook on hold for my library, so I'm really hoping that I get it in time. And then when I get back, I'm gonna try to binge watch all of the episodes. I don't have Apple TV, but I'm pretty sure I can get a week-long trial. And so I'm gonna try to do a trial. This is very ambitious of me. This also might not end up happening at all. And if it doesn't end up happening, I'm really sorry. I'm not promising that I'm gonna do this. I just really want to. And then I'll film a book versus TV show comparison and post that for you probably a week after the show comes out. So unfortunately, it probably will be a little late, but it is what it is. I think episodes are coming out now, but the final episode airs that day. And that way I don't have to pay for Apple TV. I can just watch all the episodes really quick. So that's the last book that I have plans to read. Hello, I'm editing this video and I just realized that I forgot to mention my buzzword pick for the month. So I'm going to be reading Arsenic and Adobo. I don't remember the author's name off the top of my head, but hopefully I can put a picture of it here, I can't remember what side, here, I think it's the side I usually do it on. It's a first book in a cozy mystery series about a woman who I believe her family owns a Filipino restaurant and a food critic comes and gets poisoned, I think is what happens. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens. But I'm gonna try to read that as well for the Buzzwordathon. I might replace one of the prompts. I haven't really looked into this because I literally forgot about Buzzwordathon until right now. So I just looked it up and the theme for the month is flavors. I know adobo is I don't know if it's a seasoning mix. I think it's a flavor, right? I'm pretty sure that it's a flavor. Arsenic is poison. And I think adobo is a flavor profile of sorts. It also honestly might be a way of cooking something. So this is probably a stretch, but it's the only book that I own that has a flavor in the title as far as I am aware. That's the update. That's the book that I'm saying I'm going to read for that. So thank you. Let me know in April what you are planning on reading. Also, let me know if you are participating in the May the 4th Read With You Readathon and what you are reading for that, what side you're on. And I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!